Folks, I'm going to go ahead and start talking about this game because, in my opinion, the game's over. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have won 33-16. I know there's 3 minutes left in the ball game, but I just think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have won. So let's kind of dive into this game, talk about what the heck happened throughout this matchup, as the Bucs just dominated this game. There's no other way to put it. They absolutely dominated. Starting off with Baker Mayfield, 347 passing yards and 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing as well. 3 total touchdowns today for Baker Mayfield. He looked amazing. He played well against the Eagles last year, played well against the Eagles this year. It was fantastic. I mean, he absolutely did amazing. The Bucs scored 14 points at the start of the game in the first quarter. Then, you know, they scored in every single quarter. That's exactly what you want from an offense, right? Exactly what you want from an offense. Baker looked great, and to have this type of offensive bounce-back game after you only scored 7 total points against the Broncos is huge. I mean, it's awesome. It's great. It showcases that you can bounce back, especially offensively. Liam Cohen was in his bag on this one, and you didn't even have Jalen McMillan or Trey Palmer for the second half of this game. He left with a concussion. No updates on that. And you also didn't have Luke Gedeke for this game either. Baker Mayfield was only sacked twice in this game. So shout out to Liam Cohen for scheming up some ways to continue to protect Baker Mayfield. He looked great today. He looked absolutely fantastic. He got the ball out quick. Again, I think that's by design with Liam Cohen. Baker did a fantastic job. In the running game, the Bucs had 22 carries for 100 yards. Now, look, they still will be getting a few more carries here, so the rushing stats probably won't be 100% accurate. But Bucky Irving got into the end zone for his first NFL touchdown of his career. Congratulations to Bucky Irving for that. Both running backs still do some really good things. Rachaad White did also have 35 receiving yards. Sean Tucker had a 14-yard catch. He also had 3 yards rushing. Bucky Irving had a 6-yard catch. It was a one-handed snag. The Bucs are getting a lot out of their running backs this year in different ways. And are these guys going to be guys that go out there and get you 100 yards? No, but they are going to give you different things. Neither guy is going to be like the lead bell cow back, it seems like at this point. But as a collective unit, as a group, you know, a duo, let's say, of Irving and White, you're getting some good stuff. And we'll see what happens whenever Chase Edmonds comes back. Is he going to factor some way into that rotation? I don't know, but I am going to be interested to see that and to see if Edmonds does get involved, if or when he does come back from his injury. Receiving game, Mike Evans did great today. 94 receiving yards. That does put him over 200 receiving yards on the year. I do actually have to go ahead and update this because he is at 214 receiving yards on the year. So this was a good game for Mike Evans today. This was a good game for Mike Evans. 94 yards, a touchdown, 14 targets. Todd Bowles talked about in the previous game that he was upset at the game plan of not getting Mike Evans more involved. He got more involved in this matchup. So shout out to Mike Evans for that. He's over 200 yards now, so the road to 1K looks a little bit better. Looks a little bit better in my opinion. Chris Godwin had 69 receiving yards today on 6 catches, on 9 targets. You then also had Cade Otton getting 9 targets today, 6 catches for 52 yards. Sterling Shepard had arguably the catch of the day, a 30-yard catch from Baker Mayfield, 5 targets, 3 catches for 51 yards. Trey Palmer did leave the game, but he did catch a touchdown, 3 targets, 3 catches for 26 yards and a touchdown. Shout out to Trey Palmer for getting a touchdown. Jalen McMillan was not in this game. Trey Palmer wasn't in the game for the second half of the game. So shout out to a guy like Sterling Shepard for also stepping it up when he needed to. Finally, you know, for the offensive side of things, before I start talking about the defensive side of things, look, the offensive line I thought played pretty well against in my opinion, a pretty good Eagles defense. I thought that they held up very well. They were able to get some really good work and just block well for Baker Mayfield in the passing attack, for Rachaad White and Bucky Irving in the rushing attack. Right, by the way, literally, Rachaad White has 49 rushing yards on the game so far today, tied with Bucky Irving leading the team. So 24 carries for 112 yards and 2 touchdowns rushing for the Bucs today. The offensive line held up well, just entirely offensively. It was a very similar offensive performance to what you saw from the Washington Commanders game. So kudos to the Bucs for that. Now defensively, the Bucs just again did some really, really good work. Okay? I get it. And I have to say this. The Eagles did not have A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith in this game. If that was the case and they were in this game, you're probably looking at an entirely different ball game, okay? You probably are. But injuries do happen. Teams have to adjust. The Bucs are without Antoine Winfield Jr. They're without Calijah Kancey. They're without Louis Goedeke. They have big injuries of their own, right? They do. But it was just too much for the Eagles to overcome. Their leading receiver was Dallas Goedert with 62 yards receiving on the day. Saquon Barkley was number 2 with 32 yards. Your leading wide receiver for the Eagles was Paris Campbell with 17 receiving yards. So just absolutely crazy stuff, man. Absolutely crazy stuff. By the way, it looks like the Falcons have defeated the Saints. So the Bucs are in sole possession of the lead of the NFC South with a 3-1 record. The Falcons hit a 58-yard field goal to win the game from Younghoe Koo. So absolutely insane, absolutely crazy stuff there. But again, back to the Bucs-Eagles game. The defense dominated. 16 quarterback hits. You had 1 from Lavonte David, 1 from Anthony Nelson, 1 from Vita Vea, 1 from Logan Hall, 1 from Tyke Smith. They got after it today. And also, look, Lane Johnson wasn't in this game. Fred Johnson for the Philadelphia Eagles, the replacement right tackle, looked really bad. Just looked really, really bad. And the Bucs took advantage of that. They had 6 quarterback hits. They had 6 sacks on the day. They came into this game with 2 sacks. 2 sacks in 3 games. They tripled that number in 1 game. Lavonte David had 2 sacks, a forced fumble. Yaya Diaby had a sack and a fumble. Anthony Nelson with a sack. Logan Hall with a sack. Vita Vea with a sack. It was a great day for the Bucs pass rush. And this is what we needed to see. What the Bucs needed to see, what the fan base needed to see. You needed to see this pass rush come alive. And they did in this game. Can they keep that up? Can they continue? That is a big, big question. With Calijah Kancey coming back, with Winfield Jr. coming back, hopefully that is some big help for the pass rush going forward, because this was a great showing for the Bucs. Let's hope that they can keep that up, or even be half as good as what they were today. 3 sacks, 3 quarterback hits. I'd take that in a game. So let's hope that they can keep that going forward. But folks, this was a great win. Great win for the Bucs. Not only do they bounce back, they beat a team that they needed to beat. In the Philadelphia Eagles, after an embarrassing loss to the Denver Broncos, you then have a scenario where now, with the Saints losing, you're in sole first place of the NFC South. Solely in first place. Huge momentum for the Bucs, offensively, defensively, just as a team as a whole. It's a fantastic look. Great win for Tampa Bay at home. You have some tough games ahead of you now. You play the Atlanta Falcons next. That's going to be a difficult game. That might be for first place of the NFC South. I think it will be, actually. So you need to get a win there, right? That's not going to be an easy game. That's not going to be an easy situation. The Eagles are riding high after winning that Saints game, but we can talk about that later. For right now, the Bucs just got a great win. Was it against a banged-up Eagles team? Yes. Is a win still a win? Also, yes, and the Bucks proved that they can bounce back from bad situations and take care of business whenever they are facing against banged up teams. So shout out to the Bucks. They're 3-1. They're in first place of the NFC South, and life is pretty good. So yeah, man, just awesome stuff. You love to see it. Fantastic work by the Bucks, and good stuff, man. Good stuff.